Welcome to the skating lesson. I'm Dave Lees.
And I'm Jonathan Byer. And who's this?
Yes.
And I'm Kimmie Meissner.
Jonathan, I was going to give her credentials that she's the world champion from 2006, and she won the nationals at the novice, junior, and senior level, Jonathan, okay? And 4 continents. So welcome to the show, Kimmie Meissner.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Yes. So we've had you on for this and that's before, but never to actually discuss your career in a deep dive. And it seems like a good time because it's all about the triple axel this season. So have you been keeping up with, I wanted to say the Kardashians, but the Tuktamyshevas and the Rika Kihiras and everything that's going on?
Yes, I have. And their triple axels are so good. Okay. They're amazing. They're so consistent.
I mean, we should go into this whole story about your journey in skating and your career and all these beautiful things. And I'm just like, I want her to just like lay down triple axel technique with me and walk me through because it's such a fascinating jump, and I'm sure you're like, I'm very aware of that fact, thank you very much, but to see the different styles I have seen, the only one I saw from a woman live was Mao's, and it surprised me maybe in person what I might have expected, and then to see on television Elizaveta's and Mirai's and now Rika Kihira's, I'm just curious how you compare the different approaches. And then Dave brought us down a pro world championships rabbit hole the other day, and we were all watching Midori's, and it's just each woman has such a wildly different approach, it seems, compared to some more uniform approaches from the men. So I was curious to get your whole thing. Triple axel, go.
Whole thing, yeah. Well, I think everyone has such different technique. Well, just based off of where they're from, you know, obviously there's Japanese technique, Russian technique, American, but I think because it's still not that common amongst women, they have to figure out the way that works for them. Because I know with me, I tried it on a bunch of different entries, kind of going like your basic skate into it, like Rika's way, skate into it, set, jump. And then I tried it on a nice tight circle the way Elizaveta does it. And that worked for me because it helped me to get up into the air the best. So I think they probably just played around with, well, what's the best entry for me to do this? Because you have to get such a crazy amount of lift in order to do it. And that's just so different. Like when you watch Mirai's from the Olympics, she has that look. It's like she kind of pops up into the air and, you know, you're surprised by it at first. And then you realize it's because you have to get that much momentum up and into the air.
Okay.
So I know that you learned it when you were young. So I'm curious because we see so many junior skaters doing quads and working on the triple axels in Russia especially. How much will that change when their bodies change? Like how much did you have to adjust your technique over time in the triple axel?
I had to adjust it a lot, just with all jumps. Yeah, I mean, your center changes, and then the way, again, similar to what I was talking about, the way you have to approach jumps changes. So for triple axel, I was able to do it a little bit later in life, not in competition, but I was practicing it, and I changed my entry. I went back to the way Rika was doing it, and I had to just work on getting higher because I wasn't rotating as fast since I had matured. And as I do that, I do this like with my hands. But,
oh my God!
What am I doing? but yeah, I mean, it changes so much. So you have to figure out, well, what's going to help me to do it? Is it going to be the height, or do I just have to figure out how to rotate faster? And I know there's different there's different techniques of that too. Some of the Russian girls who are doing quads are doing it. They're like opening their hip more and trying to rotate and lead with their hip, which is so different than a technique that I would teach. And then I think most people teach, which is to be really closed in, you know. But it seems to help them kind of get that rotation going faster. But they're so young, so little.
So you're saying their approach is merely on getting rotation more than actually getting the height, and you're more a proponent of going height first.
Yeah.
And then rotation second. Okay.
Right.
So I'm very curious. When we last talked, you were trying to get into PA school, but you've been doing a lot of coaching because I was, watching some sectionals and you were certainly there. So what is going on in your life, Kimmie Meissner? Has coaching stolen you? What is happening?
I do love coaching, but I did get into PA school. So, but I found out a few months ago that I got in and I have to wait almost a whole year until I start. And earlier in the year, I had decided, if I do get into school, I feel like I should at least have a year where I really focus on coaching and kind of give it give it 100%, give it my entire focus, you know, because this whole time I've been focusing on myself, still doing shows and then school, and kind of coaching was one of the things that I did. So I was like, I think it's time that I give the kids the attention they deserve and kind of devote that time to them. But yeah, I start school next June, and I'll just be here in Maryland at Towson, which is where I got my undergrad from. And I plan on still coaching, although Towson won't want to hear that at all because we're not supposed to have any kind of job outside of school. But I just can't like give up on my kids now. I have those 2 girls who made it sectionals. My one novice girl, that was her first time there, and you know, it's exciting. Now I feel like I'm really in it because I advanced past regionals with them.
So is it are you gonna, you know, just coach like once or twice a week, or how are you gonna do this? Are they, I mean,
yeah. I don't know.
Are you a lifer in coaching? That's, you know, I think the question we're wondering.
Am I what?
Are you a lifer in coaching? Like, are you going to...
Go ahead. Keep going.
Are you gonna be coaching full time? Are you gonna really do the PA thing? Are you gonna be coaching?
Have you been bitten by the coaching bug? Yeah.
I have, and I haven't. Mm-hmm. I love working with the kids, and it's been very rewarding. I've now gotten to a point where I'm coaching mainly triples and the higher level jumps. And that's been just so much fun because I feel like that for me is my bread and butter. And I know that much more than coaching and teaching them a single axel, which actually took me the longest time to figure out, well, how do I even teach a single axel? Which is so weird, you know, but double axel, I was like, I got it. I could tell you exactly how to do it, but a single, I don't know. So now I'm kind of at that point with them. And I love that aspect of it. I love bringing them to competition and seeing them succeed. But I hate the politics behind it. So, and that was a big reason why I didn't want to come back and compete, amongst many others, but that was one of them. And at sectionals, I haven't really been around that for a long time. You can see it at like some of the smaller competitions. You can see it at regionals, but sectionals, I was like, oh, this is just like blatant bias on the judge's part. And it just, I can't control myself around the kids when that happens, because I'm just like, I mean, you know how I'm feeling based off my face, even if I'm like, it's fine, like you can tell that I'm like so angry. So that was that's what keeps like pulling me out of it a little bit, because it's just like, oh, I just hate this so much.
Do you notice it more now than you did before with the politics? Like growing up, did you notice the politics as much, or how do you?
Yeah, I definitely noticed it. I can think of a competition right now, the one and only Grand Prix final that I went to in my life. I skated a short program, and it was shaky, but I still stood up on everything. And I was competing against Mao, who is, you know, in my mind, leaps and bounds a stronger skater than me and deserves to be first. But she didn't have a good short program. She missed 2 technical elements. The one she just skated completely through and didn't even attempt it. And she was ahead of me in the technical mark. And I was just kind of like, I know that I didn't skate great, and I know that, you know, Mao is a legend, but how'd this happen?
Yeah, I still completed the elements when she didn't. Yeah.
And there was a similar thing that happened to my novice lady this year that I just was like, just like leaves you with this bad taste. So I think I was aware of it when I was competing, but I was definitely, you know, I just was like wide-eyed and didn't really think about it, you know, until later on in my career when I was like, I see it now all the time. But so I see it a lot now as a coach. I'm definitely like more tuned into it. I see it when I'm watching skating, or especially if I'm there, you know, and I feel very like it feels personal when it happens to my students, you know.
Well, it's really interesting because to me, you've always been an anomaly in the figure skating community. And I went back and I watched, you know, all of these videos again and relived all these moments. And you are so likable, and it really comes across not just in the skating, but really in the kiss and cry. You kind of see like a level head, like someone who's like calm and centered and just kind of taking in moments. And when you have to do those horrible truth booths or like these like these horrible interviews right after, you are always collected and well spoken and have great perspective in a world that we know almost notoriously has some wild up and downs. I don't know, is that just your family? Is that just you? Was that like a coaching environment thing that created this sense of zen for you, or what do you attribute that to?
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I think a lot of it came from my family. That's kind of how they all are, and they react to situations just kind of calmly, and they're able to think through it. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, I'm not sure. I always kind of knew that skating was something that I enjoyed and that I was good at and that I was lucky to be doing. I felt very fortunate to be out there. So I think that helped me to kind of keep some things in perspective. If when, I did have a bad skate, it really sucked. But at the same time, I was like, I'm still me, and I still am happy with myself. I've kind of always just felt confident in myself, which I think has helped me.
Beautiful. That's incredible. Tell me how. Yeah.
So you have 3 brothers, right? Are they athletes, or are you from an athletic family? Kind of talk us through that.
So I am from an athletic family. I would say my brothers always attribute me skating to them. And it's like just wildly debated in our family who actually started that, because my middle brother is a hockey player still. He kind of plays in like the old man's league now. And my other brothers kind of all dabbled in sports. They did soccer, but they were more kind of into music and baking, actually, which my youngest brother will kill me if he hears that. But he was so good. He always had nice food waiting for us when we came home. But I think our whole family is just very competitive. So that is what spurred me on in a lot of things.
Yeah, you're very athletic, like in a non-skater crazy way. Like in a way where you could like run marathons or something and not...
Oh my, no. That is a whole nother level of crazy. I have a friend who is a marathon runner, and I just don't understand. That's not even skating crazy. That's a whole nother...
No, I have a friend who's a doctor that says whenever he sees people running to the finish line at a marathon, he feels like they're running into his arms at his office because there's just like all these injuries waiting to happen. Yeah, exactly.
I see that.
So who really coached you, early on in your skating career? You say you're from Maryland, kind of, navigate us through your journey in the sport.
Okay. So I started, the rink that I coach at now actually wasn't even around when I started skating. So I started at this little rink in the city. I still coach there too. I'm between like a million rinks. So that's one of my rinks. And I was in basic skills and everything. And I had a coach come to me and say, I think that you have some talent and I think you should start taking private lessons. To which like my mom and I were like, oh, this is like very exciting. We had no idea like what we were getting into, which is one of my favorite parts now of being a coach is when somebody just starts skating and they're just like so excited about all of it. And I'm like, yes, let's see you in 5 years. Once they start understanding what the sport is and how much it costs, But yeah, so I just started taking private lessons with my coach, Carla Hackley. She was my first one. She is retired now, but she was wonderful. I mean, she really instilled in me, always wanted me to work on just getting nice crossovers and everything. And at some point, she actually moved me along. Like my mom and I were just so happy with all of my coaches when I was younger that we never wanted to leave them, But my coach then, my first one, she recognized that I'd almost moved past what she was capable of. So she told us that, and she recommended somebody else there at the rink. Her name was Miss Rachel. She's did all my moves tests with me. She did all my jumps with me. I remember I landed my double lutz the very first day that I tried it. And it was so exciting. It was at the rink that I started at, and it was the same thing. I got to that point where I started working on double axels. And then Rachel also recognized that I had almost moved past what she wanted and what she could do. So she's the one who suggested that you should go up to Delaware. There's more of a training environment for you there. And, again, like my mom and I were just so sad to leave our people here in Baltimore. We loved them. They were so nice and they were really great. They really just instilled kind of the foundation, and what was important in skating. So they always, I was a part of like theater on ice and the ensemble. And it was always just about skating skills and not the jumps as much, even though that's what I wanted to do so badly. So yeah, they kind of moved me up to Delaware. I worked with Tracy Politis, and the whole time I was also looking at Pam. I wanted to work with Pam as well. And Tracy helped me start getting double axels and triple sows, but they were cheated, and I just failed miserably at junior nationals 2 years in a row until I didn't make it to junior nationals as an intermediate. And I reached that point where it was like, this is kind of make or break. I should either give up or get some clean jumps. And that was when we decided I really wanted to work with Pam.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at her skaters, and they had just such great skating skills, and they were landing these beautiful double axels and triple sows, and it was just out of my reach at that point. So
now, what year is this, and who's around in the ring? Because this was a hotbed of skating at this point. Yeah.
Right. So this would have been 2001. Okay. 2001. Sarah Wheat was there. Johnny was there. My biggest competitor at the time was Anna Pang, and she was like just the best skater. She was winning like junior nationals and everything. And yeah, I'm trying to think of who else would have been there at that point. Other people that you would have known, but like they're my mind is getting old.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was that. And Pam had been trying to get me to learn a skid on my axle for a year solid, and I was just refusing to do it. And I just would throw a fit every time she tried to get me to do it. And then finally I was like, okay, like this needs to end. I need to grow up, and I need to listen to the professional here if I'm really serious about it. So I started learning a skid seriously, and within like 2 weeks I had my double axle clean, and then I got my triple sow like a week later. And I just was kind of like that with all of my triples. I got them very quickly, probably within a 2 to 4 month span.
Mm-hmm.
Just really quick to just like interrupt and ask for a little bit more. Can you talk about that process of why you were fighting the skid, and like how you kind of finally tackled that with her, and what that process kind of looked like?
Yeah. Oh, sure. I mean, it's one of my favorite stories now, actually, because I teach skids to my kids, and they're so resistant to it at first, and I'm always like, I see myself in you, But yeah, I didn't want to switch it because I was under the impression that my cheated double axel was like all that, because I always stood up on it. So I was like, I have no problems with this. I'm doing it. I don't know what the judges are looking at.
And this is the old system, right? So there's no like marks. Okay, yeah.
Right. Yeah, there's no marks. This is the old system. And I had successfully, made it out of regionals like two times at that point. So I was like, I don't think I really need to change that. I just need to work on getting it higher. That's kind of what my mindset was. And I was working with two coaches. I had Tracy and Pam. So Pam was really like, you're the kind of person who needs a skid. The end. There was no, it wasn't black and white. It was like this. That's all. And my other coach was more of like a motherly figure. So I would go to her and just be like, I don't want to do it, and kind of complain to her that I didn't think I needed to. And she was like, okay, well, we'll find different ways to get your double axle clean. So I was going back and forth between the two, and that was letting me kind of get away with what I was comfortable with and not pushing past that comfort zone. And it's a really funny thing because I saw it then when I was going through it, but I also see it a lot now that I'm on the other side. And I think sometimes kids are actually a little bit afraid of getting better. It's a really
interesting.
It's a really weird thing to think about, because you just assume everybody wants that, and they do. But it's kind of scary being like, well, what happens if I get it and I start doing well? There's like this weird unknown factor. So that might have had a little bit to do with me resisting. But I'm also just very, very like strong-headed. So like, and I don't think anyone thinks that of me. They always think that I'm just like very agreeable and
I literally just complimented, because I was like, oh, look how even keel she is, how kind, how open and centered, and you're like, I was a stubborn mess. Yeah, okay.
No, I am go with the flow. But once I get it in my brain that I'm doing something one way, I will wear it out. So that's kind of, which I think helped me get to where I got to in skating, because I was like, nope, I'm doing it. And that's just how I am. But I am go with the flow. So I'm this like mix of the two. So yeah, so eventually I was like, I see the light. I didn't make it out of regionals now, and I cried in a locker room for like 35 minutes in Aston, PA. And it was just devastating. Christine Zukowski was there as well. I don't know. I feel like
I remember who that is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And she did make it out that year. And I was so disappointed. It wasn't me. So yeah, I went back and I was like, okay, something really does have to change, and maybe I should listen to what this adult has been telling me now for a year. I never gave it a real shot. I would like mess around with it in her lesson, but never practice it alone. So that was that. That was when I was like, I know my double axel is now cheated. I can't like pretend just because I'm standing up on it, it's okay. And then I just like dove headfirst into whatever Pam had to say. I was like, I'm all ears. Like, I want to do whatever it is that you want me to do. And it's really funny because once I do make up my mind in terms of like, I'm going to trust this person and I'm going to follow them, I do. Mm-hmm. Like, I will listen to whatever they have to say. Like, my coaches that I worked with, I really listened to them and I really tried to make a change. And after I got my skid, then I was a whole different skater.
So now, your Lutz, the thing that stood out is that you were one of the first American ladies, especially in your time, to have a real Lutz. Like, that was not a thing. So how did that happen? Like, how did you,
Yeah, Lutz was always one of my best jumps. So I think I got, like, axel, salto, Lutz, and then I went back and got loop and flip. And like I told you, I landed my double Lutz the very first day. A comfortable jump for me. I do have an outside edge on my flip. So I had the outside edge Lutz, but also the outside edge flip. But yeah, it just was always comfortable.
We were talking about this and Dave mentioned like there seems to be a pattern. It's that one that you get first and it's always going to creep into the other, right?
Yeah,
like,
right.
Okay.
And it's so hard to feel it. I mean, that's the one thing. You have no idea you're doing an outside edge. I think when we become more aware of it now, because obviously we don't, it's not accepted anymore. So you have to become more aware of it. But at the time when I was learning it, I mean, I had no idea that I was doing an outside edge. On my flip, I was like, I'm definitely doing inside edge. Feels different than a Lutz.
Right.
So did you work on that consistently, especially? Like, how much time would you spend, I guess, on the inside edge?
None. When I was eating.
I didn't know, like, once you were, at the senior level, if you, really tried to correct it, or did you just kind of go with it?
I did. So probably, I don't know, the last 4 years, whenever I was starting to really consistently skate under the new system, the IJS, then I was aware of it and was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea I was doing it. So I tried different entries in, and I think I did get it a couple times, but I had to completely change the way that I approached it, and I had to be on more of a circle so that I could like lean in. If I went straight, I just automatically went to an outside edge. I was like, I have no idea. I can't feel it. I'm trying. But yeah, I did put a lot of time into trying to get on an inside edge. And ultimately I found a pattern that worked for that.
So after getting the skid, how quickly was it from that point to when you won novice? Because it seems like once you hit novice, your career really took off. So kind of how long was that process?
I guess like right after regionals when I didn't make it, I started working on that skid. While everyone was at junior nationals, I landed double axel for the first time. So from there, just again, over that span of a few months, I got axel salto, Lutz. And that was when I made up my program for novice and I did triple Lutz, which was like not a thing at that point for novice ladies. Now you have to have triple triples. But yeah, I opened with Lutz in my long program there. So I got that pretty quickly, but I don't think I was working on loop and flip, and I think I could land loop but not flip yet, or I just was like inconsistent with flip. But I remember at my first international, which was Triglav Trophy, I did a full program of triples and just bombed. Because it was like all of them at once, and it was really hard to go from doing just a few triples in your program and still some doubles where you could rest to a full program trying everything. But yeah, after I got that out of the way at that competition, I felt fine. When I went to the next one, I could do a full program of triples.
So after the Triglav Trophy where you bombed, did you have the full meltdown, the full plane ride? No, you were fine.
No. I was okay. Yeah, I was disappointed, but I wasn't that bummed. It was the first time I had skated internationally. My mom and I always traveled together, so we were just excited to be out of the country. We did a lot of sightseeing, and again, this is kind of, like what you were saying, Jonathan, like I think because my parents kind of always instilled that skating is a privilege, and for you to skate outside of the US is, even more so. I think that's why I didn't take it too hard, and I don't take failure or rejection that hard.
amazing. That's an incredible quality. Yeah.
I mean, in most things, there's times like at the end of my career when someone could say something even just slightly negative to me and it would just destroy me. But at this point in my life, I didn't take failure hard at all. So I just was like, I just got to go back and work harder. I think, that's one thing that I always attribute to my success is I just worked very, very hard leading up to things. And there wasn't a day that went by that I didn't come in thinking that like my competitors were out there trying to beat me, and I would come in and be like, I need to do, just one more jump because I need to be that one more jump ahead of them. I always came in to practice with a mindset like that.
Who are your big competitors at that point? Like, at what point did Katie Taylor start to become a thing, or
Right then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you meet her? When did she enter your life? Yeah.
She entered my life at novice nationals. Katie Taylor, and then Jessica Houston. I think we were the top 3 there. And I want to say we were the 3 that went to Triglav.
And what do you remember about them at that competition? Yeah.
It was one of the first times I had seen people at Delaware doing bigger jumps, but of course, going away, I think they were in Dallas, and then seeing a whole new set of skaters with different technique and different programs and styles that I hadn't seen before. I remember being like, these girls are really good. They're so consistent, and I always felt like I was, one of the most consistent ones at Delaware, but then, breaking outside of that and you see everybody is just hitting their jumps, that was a big kind of eye opener for me.
So did you find as a skater that you worked, because then you were also talking about going into the rink thinking, I have to do this to beat someone else, but yet you have this like incredible perspective and you were like you were building confidence in the consistency you were creating in Delaware. So did you find that like it was better when you were tunnel vision and self-motivated, or were you spurned by the competition of specific people? Did success motivate you more, or was like a disappointment, maybe like the first international, something that pushed you forward?
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm just curious what that kind of mental approach was like.
Yeah, I think I took a little bit of both in terms of being I was very self-driven, but I also knew who my competitors were and I knew what they were doing, but I didn't obsess over it. That's one thing that I see now as a coach is like I have some skaters who they know the stats of everyone. Mm-hmm. And to me, I'm like, you know what? You need to look inside. You need to like, really focus on yourself and like, what are your scores doing? Because they're staying the same and you need to be getting them higher versus stop looking at everybody else and what they're doing. So I tried to know enough about my competitors, but also really know myself and really know like what I was capable of doing if I was pushing myself hard enough. And I think a really big part of it too is, my parents were never, I mean, they're an anomaly in skating.
Okay.
Like,
okay.
Yeah.
That's who it is, not you. Okay.
Yeah. No, my parents were the kind of people who were pretty much like, anytime that you're done, you just let us know. Cause like, we can happily be done too. So they didn't push me. They just were there to encourage me. And if I had a bad day, they helped me keep my perspective on things and realize that my world wasn't ending. And they would come in and my dad would play. I always had to do 5 in a row with Pam. And my dad would come in and he would count them for me. But he would do like a really goofy thing. So he'd be standing over at the boards and like I would be at like 3. And I'd see him, he'd be like under the barrier and then like pop up with like 3. So he would play these games with me that always made it fun. And it was
fun,
a challenge.
Yeah.
So like I wanted to do 5 because I wanted to see what's my dad gonna do next, with his counting. So yeah, my parents were just a huge part and just so wonderful in that aspect. But.
So the next year you obviously moved up to junior and were winning there, and it's at what how much did your program content I guess change from 2003 to 2004? You talked about getting a couple of triples and then doing your program. So walk us through the next year.
So the next year, I was trying to just get all of my triples consistent, and I don't think I wasn't trying any triples or anything at that point. I really was just trying to improve my skating skills, spins, kind of just all around improve everything. And so my program content was a lot harder. I mean, my long program had a full set of triples in there, and I'm trying to remember what I did on my short. I think I did lutz. I don't think I did lutz and flip. Maybe I did like lutz and toe or something. I don't remember what was my short was like, but I was trying to do the harder jumps because I knew senior was like looming, you know. And at that point, Michelle was skating, so I'm like, someday soon I'm gonna have to skate against Michelle Kwan. So that came really quickly, yeah, because I did everything. I got to junior, I won junior, and then they invited me to do like that Campbell's Cup. They had some pro-ams leading up to senior nationals, and I skated. Somebody pulled out, so I had to jump in for them, and I was competing against Michelle, Sarah, Sasha, and I was just losing my mind because I walked in. I was trying to get my skates on. My mom was in the locker room with me, and we were just giggling because I'm like, Michelle Kwan's right next to me, and I'm trying to tie my skates right next to Michelle Kwan. And I was just like losing my mind. So that whole competition, like, I don't even remember how I skated because that was the first time I'd even been around these big stars, and I had just been in junior the year before. So like out of nowhere, I was suddenly skating with them.
Now, when you were a junior in 2004, obviously the Olympics are 2 years away. Had you kind of decided, that you were going for this and going to make it? Or, at what point did you start to realize that you were really, going to make a push for it?
I honestly did not think 2006 would be an Olympics that I was seriously going for. I thought 2010 was my Olympics.
Okay.
So it wasn't on my radar, which sounds crazy, but like I just was like, no, I'm, here's all these skaters above me that I've been watching, and I'm still young and learning, and I'm gonna only just be age eligible to go. Like it just wasn't a reality until it became a reality.
Now, how did the triple axel become a reality? Because you started to become obviously synonymous with this, that you were working on it and then that you were going to do it. So I guess, most people stop at triple lutz, especially at that point. So, I mean, what made you, I guess, want to try it? What made people think that you could do it? How did that all come about?
Well, I went to Junior Worlds that year, 2004 I went, and I saw Miki Ando do her quad sow. And I was like, I need something. And my axel was my best jump. We sat down and we thought about what jumps do I have? Is a quad realistic, or could I do triple axel? And I was just always so solid with my axel. Once I got my skid, it was very good. So yeah, we were like, we should just start working on triple axel. And I had a guy friend that I was skating with, Sean Rogers. He was there, and I just, growing up with brothers, I just always believed like, whatever these boys do, like I can definitely do it so much better than them. And like, my family had always been just so competitive, and like I never wanted to, not be doing what my brothers were doing. And Sean became like a brother to me there at the rink. So, he's out there hitting triple axels and quads every day, and we just started getting into little competitions with each other. And I was like, that's it. I'm gonna do it too, because you can do it, so I can do it, and I need to do it also.
How long did it take you?
How did you begin that process?
Yeah. So I started in the harness for a while. I probably was in there for a month or 2 months maybe. And then I remember like the day they asked me, told me, okay, we're doing it out of the harness today. I was like, okay. And I loaded up the butt pads, and I was like, all right, trying to like talk myself into it. Like, it's no big deal. Just jump and rotate. So I kept setting it up and then like circling. I think I did that like 10 times. And finally I was like, okay, I'm doing it. I just have to do it. I'm like having these like mental talks. So then I jumped and started rotating, and just, I came out like completely forward and just like face planted the very first one that I tried. But then it was fine. It like erased all that tension, and I was like, okay, I'm fine. I'm good. I can now try this for real. So like the second one I think I tried, I actually got it to about just like probably a half turn cheated, or just a little bit under that. And they just felt like a normal triple that I had worked on and learned. So I learned triple axel pretty quickly. Within 2 months, I think I was landing it, and I was at least rotating it cleanly. And then yeah, I finally figured out how to land it.
Now, what was the process like of putting it in for competition? Because obviously that's a whole nother hurdle. You're going senior at nationals. I guess when did you first, start attempting it?
I tried it for the first time at Liberty, the summer competition at the pond. And I think I did it. It was like a quarter turn cheated, and I think I stood up on it, but it was cheated. That was the first and only time that I tried it before I did it at nationals in competition. But I practiced it every day in my program. So I was ready to do it, but it was one of those things where we were also playing with triple triples at that time too. So I think we were trying to decide between the two. And when I got there, depending on what position I was in, and if I was skating well, it was going to be one of those things. We'll throw it in and we'll do it in practice, kind of like show everyone that you can do it, but maybe we won't do it for real. And yeah, the day came and I was like somehow in the last group, in the last warm-up group. And I just felt good. I had been hitting it every day in practice. I mean, much better than the one I ended up landing, in the program. That was probably my sketchiest one that I've landed. So yeah, I just felt good. And after the warm up, I think I tried it on warm up, and I got off the ice and we had a little powwow of like, are you going to do it? Or you're not going to do it? And I just really wanted to try it. Figured I had nothing to lose. It's my first year. Like, again, the Olympics aren't something I'm thinking of. So it's not like I need this year to kind of set me up for next year. So I just decided this is the time. I'm going to do it.
Do you think that took the pressure off of being like, I'm on national TV, I'm with Michelle Kwan? Because like some people would have those thoughts of, where they are and around them. Do you think it kind of kept you focused to have something to?
Well, I think because I had skated with Michelle and kind of the big people at that Campbell's Cup leading up to it, and that helped me so much because I got that over with already. I kind of got that like, I'm here with them thing done with. And I was still really excited at nationals, but I also knew I had a job to do type of deal. And it was funny because I remember we were warming up and I was sitting in the back and I just was like sitting there like this, like on the mat. Michelle's warming up, she's stretching, she's getting ready to go. And I was like sitting backstage yawning, which helps me relax.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting backstage yawning and Michelle just like stopped mid-run and was like, "You're in my group, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." I also was like, Michelle Kwan's talking to me. But I was like, okay, yeah, I'm in your group. She was like, I'm just making sure because you're yawning. You just seem so relaxed. And like, I'm nervous. How are you not nervous? And it was just so funny to like hear that, from her. But I don't know. Again, like being young, I think helped me a lot I wasn't thinking of TV or the people who were there watching me. I was thinking of all of the training that I did, and I had really been skating well, and I'd been doing clean programs with triple axel, sometimes without. So I just was kind of like, I mean, I know what I'm doing. I land these jumps every day. I feel just confident.
So I have a couple of questions as we kind of pontificate what we think every skater is thinking about. Like, so when you first tried it at Liberty, you said,
right.
And it was cheated. Were you finding that it was often cheated in practice leading up to it, or you had been going really clean and you felt really good about it, and just the way it happened in competition there was cheated, or was the plan to just kind of, even if it was cheated, just get it out there to try it?
When I tried it at Liberty, I was doing probably like 50-50 clean and cheated. They weren't all clean yet at that point, but I was just standing up, and that was something we were really excited about. So,
but it wasn't like a 50-50 where 50% of the time you landed it, 50% were like absolutely dreadful, right? Because we see a lot of people trying these new elements and we're wondering like, what is their ratio? Or we see people that no one's ever really seen them land an element except for maybe one time on Instagram, and then they try it in a program, and I wonder that would be such an extra stressor for me.
100%. I feel that way all the time too. When I'm watching people skating now, or when I'm watching my students, they come up to me and they'll be like, I want to try this new triple that I just learned. And I'm like, no, like, really not, because like, I never enjoyed going out there to compete and not knowing that I land this jump 99% of the time, if not 100% of the time. Like I was someone who always had to be trained. And I like to know what I was doing. So I always felt that way with other people too. Like, why are you trying that when you've only landed a few times? Like, wait till you get it consistent and then put it in there when it, it can be your moneymaker. Like, don't do it just yet.
Yeah, it seems strange that your plan would be to hope for a miracle. Like,
yes.
It seems an unusual thing.
Going through. You're like, maybe I'll skate really good this time.
And then it's interesting also because you seem so focused and organized and all these things. So the idea that actually also the decision at Nationals was kind of last minute. I mean, I know you've been practicing and you've felt good about how it's going, but did any of that like wild card element throw you, or you were ready for a last minute decision? Because a lot of times we hear commentators or journalists say like, we don't know if they're going to do it, but we're pretty sure the decision has been made. They just haven't announced or something like that.
Right. Because I had been practicing it I had been practicing my programs with triple axel leading up to it. So that was really what I had trained. And the double, I knew I could obviously land my double axel there. So I was ready to do a program with triple axel, and if I fell on it, I knew how to recover from it. But if I landed it, I also knew how to continue skating after landing it. And that was like, it's funny now looking back on it, because I like realized why we were all so excited that I landed triple axel. But I was so pumped because I landed all of my last triple flip, double dunk at the very end. I was more excited about all of that than
the actual axel. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't realize, I didn't take into account any of that. I just was like, look, I just skated a clean program senior nationals. Like, that's pretty exciting. But all my questions were like about triple axels that the reporters were asking me, and I was like, well, what about my triple lutz double toe?
The thing everyone else is doing, Kimmie. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Exactly.
So this is the time, but obviously before YouTube. I think YouTube came in around 2006, 2007. So were you someone that had like tried to watch all the other ladies doing triple axel, or just growing up with the guys, it was kind of no big deal in that sense? Why you were so ho-hum about everything? Yeah.
Yeah, I think just growing up with the guys, I didn't, we didn't have access to watch that. I didn't even have a phone until I was like 16. I think I finally got a cell phone, which is bizarre nowadays, right? Like,
I know.
All have cell phones. Yeah. So I wasn't really in tune with who else was trying them. I remember hearing like whispers of other skaters who are maybe trying to do it, and that just like spurred me onward to try to get it first, But yeah, I think about that too, because that summer after I landed at Nationals leading up to 2006, I was doing just like a crazy amount of triple axels. Like I would do triple axel, triple toe, like 10 in a row, like not miss anything. And I just wish that I had video at that point, because I would have video of all of this now, and it's just like, it's like a myth now. I'm just telling you these legends of what I did in practice.
Yeah, sure, Kimmie.
Yeah. Right, I know, really exactly.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you did. Yeah, I mean, we were thinking about including it that following year in my short and long program. And I was hitting it when I originally got my program set. And then I got an injury from triple axel, just kind of like landing, and I twisted my back weird. And that was when we decided I should focus on having 2 triple triples will set me apart technically, because triple axel now hurt my back when I did it. So I couldn't train it as much. So then we started really diving into like flip toe and lutz toe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I guess at the point that you landed the triple axel, 2005, obviously everyone starts saying that you're going to go to the Olympics. And did you feel that things had changed at that point at Nationals? Like, did you feel that your skating life had completely was a little bit different than it was like an hour earlier, or what?
Yeah, I definitely did. I felt like things were different. I mean, again, I bring back up Michelle because she's my skating hero. So, Michelle is talking to me now like a fellow skater. And that to me really rocked my world. And like these other skaters were, because now I was up there with them, and I was doing the same things that they were doing. I had to go and do the media summit leading up to leading up to Nationals. And, again, I still hadn't really considered myself as being one who could and would go. But then when I got to the media summit, I started getting it in my head then that I was like, yeah, I'm going to go. Like, I'm definitely doing it. I'm setting my eyes on this, and I'm going to do it, So it just felt like it was right. Like it was going to happen It was like using The Secret, you know, I don't know.
Amazing.
Now you went to the Worlds with ESPN just to, I remember they had like did fluff pieces with you or something. And I remember you were like trying caviar in Russia or something. I have some like vague memory of this, watching this on TV.
Yeah, that's right. I was doing like a behind the scenes thing with Paul Wiley because I was too young to go to Worlds at that point. So I went to Junior Worlds. So they brought me and I was doing, fluff pieces with Paul and sitting there with Peggy watching practice and like commentating on it.
Our dream for you, you're like just there bored. Yes, but okay, yeah.
Right. That was cool. That was very exciting.
I wanted to ask you about those Junior Worlds that you went to after, going to Senior Worlds and landing the triple axel, because you went to a Junior Worlds, you're going back to a competition that you had been to the year before. It probably wasn't as exciting as going to the Worlds, not going, And then you're there and you're in the midst of like the debut of Mao and Yuna, who are, competing against each other. So walk us through, that's kind of like an interesting Junior Worlds in 2005.
Yeah, it really was. Definitely going into that, I felt like, I had been like on top of the world there at Nationals and like everything I had worked for happened, and it was crazy. It was like living out this dream. So then all of a sudden it was like, I still have to compete at Junior Worlds. I don't want to. I got a medal. I didn't want to. I wanted to. But knowing I could have been at Senior Worlds had I been a little bit older was like, it was definitely frustrating. So I didn't have a very good attitude, I don't think, going into it. I just maybe felt like, it was already over. I wasn't approaching it with the same mentality I did my other competitions of like, I want to skate my best here. I was kind of like,
You're too cool for school at this point.
Too cool for school. Yeah. And I just remember Mao skating that incredible program to Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I think it was her short program. And it was like, I think I had competed against her once or maybe more than once before that. And Yuna only one other time. But that was maybe the first program I saw where Mao was like, oh my gosh, we all just had heart eyes, and she was just one of those competitors that you couldn't watch her and be like mad that you weren't going to beat her. You just watched her and you were like, she's so good. Mm-hmm. And, you just were happy to be skating with her. But yeah, I actually skated through 2 jump passes there in my long program. I never lived that one down when I went back home because I got to like my last triple lutz and triple flip and like I was skating fine. And I just don't know what my deal was and like why I decided, nope, I'm done. And I just didn't do anything. I did a 3-turn.
Did you know going into it that you were going to skate through it, or did it kind of just?
No, it just like happened. I don't know how to describe it. I had this like out of body experience where I was skating okay, and then I do more. I'm not doing this jump. I just didn't do it.
No, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pass.
No, thank you. Yeah. Pam was not happy with me, as you would imagine, when I got off the ice. And neither was my mom. That was probably one time where she was like, okay, this was ridiculous.
And you didn't have an answer. You weren't like, I was afraid of something, or I felt too tired, or something was wrong. You were just I just don't know what happened just then.
Yeah, I just got off the ice and was like, I don't know. That's like not like me at all. I have no idea why I did that, let alone like in a competition. I would never have even dreamed to do that in practice, but I guess I felt like it was totally fine to do.
Now, did you do your triple axel at Junior Worlds? I remember Mao did hers because I remember watching it, and it was like the most natural, easy looking triple axel for like I never seen.
Floating. Yeah. I don't remember if I tried mine. I don't think that I did. I think I had been skating a little bit less solidly that week, so I just decided to do a double. But if I tried it, I obviously fell on it because we're not talking about me landing it there. So. Yeah, I don't think I tried it though. I think I did double.
And when you first started doing the triple, and this is just ignorance, was there any difficulty then with the double at all?
Oh my God.
Did it alter that at all?
I couldn't work on triple and then go back to double.
That's what I was wondering, if that screws with people sometimes.
Yeah, I was okay, if I let like a session go by and then tried double axel again, I was fine. But I couldn't do it all in the same session.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So
and did you find the same when you were learning like triple lutz and things like that? Or was it kind of a specific situation for the axel?
It was more specific for axel. Once I started learning triples, triple flip and lutz, I only warmed up with singles. So I just kind of like forgot how to do doubles. And so like testing my senior free was really tough because I had to do a double lutz. And I would pop my double lutzes into triples and think that I did them. And I'd be like, I did it. And my coach would be like, Kimmie, it was a triple. Like, stop it. Open up.
In what world? In what world? I can't even imagine this.
I know. You know, like now in my life, it'd be awesome if I could like pop a double into a triple. I don't know. It was a crazy thing at that time, but yeah, it really like, only messed me up though with double axel, triple axel, and double axel.
Okay. So you talked about doing those triple axel, triple toes all summer. You know, at this point, you're obviously going for the Olympics, realizing that it's in your, you know, walk us through the Olympic season, what it's like at that point in your life. Go on.
It's so different, even though you're with the same people. There's so much more, so much more pressure and expectation from everyone, you know. Yeah, you have at least 6 or 7 people who are really seriously contenders for the Olympics. And that year everything was kind of up in the air, whether there were 2 spots or 3. Mm-hmm. So I think we all just knew it was going to be 2 spots. So it was even more tough because you're like, you have to be 1 or 2. We didn't know about this, depending on your body of work. I think about this all the time too, because I'm like, man, if that was what it came down to with me, I don't think I would have had the opportunity because I was so new to senior.
No, you would have been fine.
You would have been fine. Yeah. They only have to use that in case they need a Hail Mary pass for an old champion or something.
Yeah. So it was like you had to be 1 or 2. But
because Alyssa would have, this is how it would have worked. I'll go with real Nerdville. But Alyssa did well on the Grand Prix, but then she bombed the final. So it would have been kind of like evened it out. Because you were 5th, right, at going in? Like you had been 5th at your Grand Prix or something?
Yeah, I don't think I medaled at any of them, but so it was probably like 4th or 5th. You know more than I do. I don't remember.
We also like reread your bio today. So like this is
yeah, it's not like always available.
I feel so impressed with you guys. I think it's just there.
Some of it is there, and some of it obviously is research. But
those mid-90 eras stuff, that's all just there. Yeah.
I feel like I could pull those out too.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, I guess did you feel that way? I guess how quickly, did competing feel different? Because you would always seem to be kind of like, you know, you talked about being kind of a cool, calm competitor who could like decide to put in the triple axel or not. You know, did competing feel different, you know, for you that season?
Not really. I still felt like I was approaching it the same way. Each program or each competition I did, I wanted to just skate clean. Obviously, I just want to do my best, you know. And I was just I always had trouble with my short programs versus long programs. I could crush a clean log, but it was that short. I would probably miss something in a short. And I think that year is when I did my spiral sequence and did a back crossover and just fell and slid mid spiral sequence, looking right at the U.S. judge. I like reached toward her and just fell and
waved goodbye as she went down. Yeah,
I like couldn't control it. Yeah, it was like one of those ones where like I just feel myself continuing to bend. It's over. I still got credit for the spiral sequence though because I fell and got up right away. So it was like the rhythm was fine. Isn't that funny?
Okay, yeah.
That was like the new system, the very first season of the new system. So they hadn't really ironed things out, I think. It worked great for me though. But yeah, I remember that year. Like I had skated my longs cleanly at both Grand Prix that I had and the summer competition I had. I skated clean. And I feel like I got stronger each competition I did. Because I have this like really weird memory of leaving the kiss and cry in France and being like, another clean program, like walking back to the locker room with Cam. And that's what sticks out to me of my Grand Prix that year. Is like,
I love that though. Yeah.
So I was just really pumped that I skated those clean. And then, like getting to nationals felt so different than any that I had been at before, because again, there was so much weight on everybody's shoulders. And I did feel it. I felt yeah, I wanted to go to the Olympics, obviously, especially after getting the little taste of it at the media summit, getting some of the Olympic gear. You know, I was like, I can be on this team, and like I want this so badly, you know. And I never had envisioned my life like not making the team. So I think it was scary thinking like, what if I don't make it, you know? And then I skated my short, and it was just, I had put my hand down, I think, on that combo, so I ended up in 4th after the short. So it was like, I know I gotta be perfect the next day. And I had this like horrible cold, and it sounds so dramatic, but like I couldn't even breathe, and I could barely like get on the ice and skate without feeling just so off balance and awful. And I think Sasha was suffering from something too. Like we were all just feeling terrible, and probably from the stress of it. Like it definitely wears your body down. So yeah, going into the long, I remember my coaches taking my tissues away and being like, you have to do your 6-minute warm up without tissues because you have to skate a clean long. And I just was like, I don't know if I can do it. It was so dramatic. But yeah, that when it finally came time for me to go out there and perform, I just relied solely on everything that I had trained up until that point.
So you get out there, like you're going for the Olympics, and you said you relied on your training. So are you feeling shaky legs? Like what kind of a competitor are you at this point? Are you feeling the leg shake happening when you're going out there, or?
A little bit. I'm definitely feeling a little bit shaky, but not really. I mean, the minute my music comes on, I feel just kind of like I loved that program. It was one of those programs that made you feel like you were just a badass. So that the minute the music came on, I was like, yes, I'm in it.
It was empowering music, and I will have to say consistently, like going back to this whole era and watching all of you guys back to back, the music was just so much better. Everyone's music was of high quality. Everyone's like programs were well thought out. It was a really nice era. But I have a question, because a lot of people say, oh, I'm just going to rely on my training. And occasionally, as a skeptic, I give a side eye because you wonder, like, well, what training is it you're relying on? Right. So when you say rely on your training leading up to nationals, what did that entail for you? We've heard people do double run-throughs. Were you doing shorts, longs the next day? What did that look like for you?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things with working with Pam is you had to do 5 in a row of each element. So no matter if you just stepped out or put your hand down, that was considered a miss. So you'd start back at 0. So I did 5 in a row of all my jumps every day, like plain triple lutzes, and then 5 triple lutz, triple toes in a row. And I usually always ran 2 longs a day, full longs, and then I would do a short program too. And then I would, on my last session, go back and do sections of each thing.
And all of that is every day?
Every day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, to be 16.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so I did that every day. So I mean, I really did train, and I knew what I was going to do because that's what I had done for months. You know, it wasn't like just this month I decided to get my act together. Like I had been doing that consistently. So actually, like the mistakes I made at the Olympics, putting my hand down, was really shocking because I had been so solid. But,
okay.
So now you talked about the program, and I have to ask, there was the costume, the music, I think you were with Lori Nickel. Were you channeling Michelle Kwan's transformation on purpose? Or was it like, because it was definitely...
There were some Salome-isms, even in the sound. Yeah,
that Lori was going to make you an artist this year, and this is what's going to happen.
Right. I don't think it was ever like, we're definitely going to follow these steps that Michelle did. But I wanted that program to be more mature. I mean, I figured if I am going to the Olympics, I want a program that should be at the Olympics. You know, I don't want to skate to something light. So I was definitely trying to do something that was a step forward compared to what I had done before. And the year prior, I had skated to Daphne and Chloe, so it was softer and, you know, light.
But
which was
always quality. Always quality,
definitely
Kimmie.
Quality.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. No, I love it. And it was great for me at that time. But I think as I got older, I'm now 16, you know, I did want something that was older and asked for more. But if there were similarities, I'm not going to say it wasn't planned.
Okay. So, your Olympic experience at 16, were you like just kind of taking it in stride? Were you freaking out? I mean, what? I'm
curious, Dave, to follow on that. Like, did you feel a lot of focus and pressure, or did you feel a lot of media was all kind of about this Michelle Kwan situation and kind of left you out of it?
I felt completely left out of it, media-wise. And yeah, especially with, the Michelle situation going on, and then there's Sasha, and then when Emily came in, I just was kind of under the radar. And continuing to train while I was there and training well. So I really didn't feel any pressure or anything until I took the ice for my long program.
Okay.
And then I had the moment of like, oh my God, I'm here and I'm about to skate my long program on live TV in the final warm-up group of the Olympics. And then I got really nervous. But, getting on the ice for the short, I skated second out of like that entire group, so I was just really early on.
And I do love the commentary on that. They were like, look at that. First Olympics, she's in first place. And then I think Peggy was like, she was the second skater. No,
Well, I was. So yeah, I wasn't first for a little while.
Now, I would love to get I don't get to do this a lot, ask for clarification on things I'm seeing on YouTube as I revisit this.
Okay.
What was your response to the short program scoring?
Oh, jeez.
Did anything, because if nothing lingered, I wondered if I saw confusion or disappointment on your face at the scores, or if it was just you merely taking in the experience.
I think it was probably me just taking it in and thinking like, okay, now I have to wait for like 30 some more skaters to find out where I'm going to be tomorrow. I just have never been someone who focuses on scores, especially when the IJS was so new. They didn't mean anything as much,
Yeah.
Yeah. So more than anything, I just was really pumped that I skated a clean program. That's all I could really do, and I was like, yeah, I'm doing it. I did it. So yay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you surprised that you got nervous for the long program? Because you said that you were always a long program skater. So have you analyzed like why the freak out happened then as opposed to the short, or like?
I have analyzed, because. Again, the short is where I would get nervous. There's not that many elements, and I have to do them well, But the long, I can just remember so many, like, really weird, specific things, like John Baldwin in the corner waving a California flag, and that was, like, the moment that I was like, like, when I saw him, I don't know why, but it, like, clicked in my brain that, like, it's happening. And I was really surprised. I had never considered myself someone who... I don't know. I was very mentally strong, and I didn't usually let nerves affect me. I usually let them help me. I was able to utilize it and kind of take in the audience and stuff. And but yeah, I could feel it. You just get jelly legs, and that's the minute that music started. I was like, oh, it's a long program. And I know every skater has been there at some point, but yeah, I was like, oh, I wish it wasn't here at the Olympics, Mm-hmm. So I just was happy I was able to like keep it together and not like fall everywhere, because that's what it felt like I was going to do, because my legs were like, oh gosh, Now,
did you stay in the village the whole time? Because sometimes people go off and they train other places and they come back. So what was your experience like?
I stayed in the village only a few nights. Again, I was younger, and I stayed with my parents at like a little apartment closer to the rink, just because of the craziness afterwards and everything. And we did go and train for a week in like on the border of France. This really beautiful rink that had stained glass windows, and it was awesome. It was the U.S. team and the Japanese team there, and they would let the like little villagers come in and watch us, and it was awesome. That was one of my favorite parts, because Torino was a different city than I expected for the Winter Olympics, and I think the place that we went to go train was everything I expected. We were in the mountains. It was snowing every day. We were in this crazy rink, so it was nice to have that kind of fill up that, idea that I had of the Olympics. So I kind of had that and then was able to come back to reality.
So what's it like practicing with Shizuka and Sasha? Like, do you have memories of them and, what they were like in practice? Okay.
I do. Well, we were separated from the Japanese team. I think it was like they trained in the morning for a few hours. We came in the afternoon. They came back, and then we came back. We were always, we didn't see each other. So we just like in passing. Sasha didn't train that much.
No, she was injured, like, right? Like she was like groin injury or what?
I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So that it was interesting, definitely, because I think we were both in general two opposite skaters. I needed regimen, I needed training to help me, and I think Sasha maybe didn't utilize that same method. So it was interesting to have us both on the ice together. You know, and I also was someone who was like, let everybody in, and Sasha maybe wanted to skate and just not worry about that. But someone like me who doesn't have really notoriety that much at that point was like, oh, I don't care, like, yeah, bring them in, you know. But I could see if you're someone skate, I like get all of that now, you know, in hindsight. But yeah, if she was injured, that would make a lot of sense. I don't know, I don't remember if she was, but I was running full programs, you know, every day.
So now, forgive my ignorance. Were you Pam's first student at the Olympics? And then, yes. You know, sometimes like, how did she handle that? Because oftentimes we know that like a coach's energy in that kind of situation can inform things. We've had people be like, oh, my coach was trying to take this method and that really helped, or they were trying to steer me this way and that did not help. Yeah. What did you find? Was the federation involved then? Were they advising on things they suggested would be good, or did you just kind of stick to your normal plan leading up?
Yeah, we just kind of stick to my normal plan. Again, I was very under the radar, and everyone was pretty hands off with me.
But was Pam? So was Pam nervous, or was Pam go with the flow too?
She seemed like she was fine, like normal nerves. Like we were both nervous, but like she would get that way at other competitions too. But it wasn't anything out of the blue or like uncharacteristic of her. And we also had my strength trainer was there with us too. So that helped normalize things too. He just was like your average athletic trainer, you know? So, and it was kind of nice to have that.
Well, that's a great term. I love the idea that it was normalized, that it was just, even though of course it's not, that she with her first experience with it, you with your first experience with it, right. That it was able to be as normal as it could have been then.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. It was. I mean, it felt great. Like I said, I didn't feel like I was at a different competition really, you know, until my long program.
Until you were. Yeah, okay.
Until I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now that you've done the Olympics, did that motivate you for Worlds? The fact that, you had a bad program at the Olympics, did that, piss you off to make sure that the next event was, badass, kick-ass, Worlds? Or, I guess kind of walk us through, because now you've been to the Olympics, so there's not as much to be nervous about. Yeah.
Right. And that was, we had been talking about some of my other competitions where I maybe didn't skate my best and I wasn't that affected by it. I did feel extremely disappointed, obviously, about the Olympics and not skating the way that I had. Because, you want to like leave it all out there and feel like, you don't have anything lingering in your mind. And I'm like, I wish I could have just skated how I was skating. It's like one of those things where it's like, that experience of like going to a second Olympics would have been huge, because now I would have understood it and I would have been able to like handle it better. I think, at the time it was
because of your age, or would you do something differently leading into it? Or do you feel it was just the experience that led to that, not necessarily something you could have prevented or something? Right.
I think it was just the experience leading into that and not really knowing what to expect, because it seems like it shouldn't feel different. You're skating against the same people, and you're with the same kind of team leaders, the whole deal. But, it obviously does. It's a whole nother thing. It's the pinnacle, you're there. So I think being a little older and wiser would have helped me to like deal with that pressure there, because, I started just thinking of my high school friends that are watching me now on TV that didn't have any idea that I skated. Now all of a sudden they're going to see me skate, like just really funny little things popped into my head.
What's it like returning? You went to real school, right? So was it like a huge deal when you come back from the Olympics and everyone wants to talk about it all the time? And
it was crazy. Yeah. And I was always like really low key about it there. I'm not shy, which I hope you can tell that I'm not shy, but a lot of people always think that I am, because I kind of come in and I do my I do what I need to do, but I don't like to like impose opinions and things upon people. So I just kind of like sit and listen until it feels right that I can like be loud and who I am. And that's how I was in high school. I was only there the first half of the day, and then I would go train. So some of my closer friends in school, they knew that I was training at a different level than maybe other friends they knew that skated, but they really had no concept, like what was going on until it was like, local, Bel Air girls going to the Olympics. And my friends were like, I sit next to that girl in math school or math class. Like, what the heck? So coming back from the Olympics was unbelievable. They like the little town of Bel Air threw this huge parade. My school went crazy with things. They had pep rallies and stuff for me. All these people that I never spoke to in my life suddenly were.
And were you able to enjoy that, or were you like, ugh, I don't like the way I skated in my lawn? Or were you able to just take all of that joy and be like, yeah, that was cool that I did that?
I could definitely enjoy it, but there were some people who would be like, it's too bad,
Oh, God.
Oh.
I was like, what do you mean it's too bad? I am in the top 6. That's awesome. But like,
yeah, the final group.
Yeah, right. They're like, better luck next time. And I'm like, oh my God, you don't understand. That was like once in a lifetime, and people don't get that. And, even after I won Worlds, I remember one of the questions was like, how I plan to win the next year. Right. And I was like, heck,
can we just be in the moment, you guys? Yeah.
Right. Like, just won 20 minutes ago. I don't know anything about next year.
So one of the things your bio said is that you ruptured also your eardrums on the airplane. So is that like a huge situation? Is this like a minor situation? Like what?
It was a pretty big situation. I got another really nasty cold at the end of the Olympics, and so I flew home and I just couldn't unclog, and then I kind of forced it. So my ear was bleeding and it was really bad, and I was super off balance though when I went back to skate, and it was a great excuse to like not hear Pam when she was like double run through. I was like,
what? I'm bleeding. Yeah.
So I kind of like use it to my advantage in training, but I still got some like weird ear issues now. I just kind of get earaches a lot, and like my hearing in my left ear is kind of like messed up from it, but.
And leading into the Olympics, did you ever, we hear about so many different people talking to sports psychologists and things like this. You seem like an even-keeled competitor. Not that people that seek the help of a sports psychologist are not, but is that something you tried, or is that something that they set up athletes with through the federation ever, or?
It was something that was available to us. I had worked with a sports psychologist off and on kind of throughout my whole skating life. She would come to Delaware. Caroline Sylvie, she's amazing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Dave.
She was on the show, yes. La said that she used to have like a red convertible that she drove in. All the cool kids got to hang out with her. She said, yeah.
Yeah, I know. She was just so cool. One of her tricks that she told me was she gave me these frog stickers, and so she wanted me to place them all around the house. Like every time I passed and looked at the frog sticker, I had to like think of something positive about myself and my skating. And I still have them at home on like one of my little mirrors there.
Do you still do it? That would be a really good thing to remind ourselves of someday.
Yeah. I should probably still do it.
Interesting thing is I actually found out recently that she was coached by Mary Scottvold's twin sister, who apparently is like the even-keeled one of the three. And it was just kind of one of those small world. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
That is interesting. But yeah, so I had worked with her kind of on and off. Never, I didn't have like weekly meetings with her. It was more like when she was at Delaware, I would sit down and then I'd kind of take her exercises and use them. So leading up to the Olympics, I didn't do anything different.
So, how bad was the down after the Olympics? Because I remember, talking to someone that works with Frank, and they were saying, after the Olympics and the whirlwind with Gracie, it was hard for her to get going, for the Worlds right after the Olympics to kind of get excited for it. So did you feel that? You have the eardrums that are bleeding and you're sick and everything like that. But were you, and you talked about being disappointed. I was wondering if you were the kind of disappointed where you were disappointed, like pulling the blankets over your eyes, or disappointed that you wanted to get in the ice and like kill it.
Have at it again.
Yeah. Again, at this point in my life, I was the kind of disappointed that I wanted to get back on the ice and skate. later in my life, if something like that happened, I was so disappointed. I didn't want to do anything, But yeah, I was excited to get back into the rink and kind of get back to normal training to prove to myself, like, you can still do it, But it was tough. It was so hard continuing to train for Worlds. I got new skates in the meantime. I had my ear thing going on. Honestly, skating so bad leading up to Worlds. Like, I'd fall on cheated triple lutzes, right? And I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. But then I got to Worlds.
You really didn't know what was going to happen, did you?
I had no idea. But yeah, then I got to Worlds, and it all turned right back around, and I was skating like I was at the Olympics leading up to that, where I was just like hitting everything, and I felt good. My skates finally felt good. They broke in just in time. Yeah, but it's tough. I mean, if you think about it, your whole skating career is leading up to those 4 at the Olympics. So when that comes and goes and you've achieved it, it's like, well, what do I do now? I think even some part of you that's like, even if you obviously if you don't win, but just being there, just getting to that level is a huge achievement. So you're just kind of left like wondering, like, well, where do I go from here? Like, what do I do next? And like, how am I going to still have the same enthusiasm in another month when I see the same people that I just saw? Yeah. So it's tough.
Now, what do you remember from Worlds? Obviously, you like the short program. How did it go? What was what were you feeling at that point?
Well, we still had to do qualifying rounds at this Worlds.
Exhausting. Yeah.
So weird. Yeah. So I did decent in the qualifying round. I think I might have made a little mistake here or there. I think I missed one of my triples. I did like a triple double or something. But I was in the top 3. I got one of those like little tiny medals, which I thought was super cool. I was like, I have a Worlds medal, And that placed me in, I think, the last group for the short, which was pretty cool. And I just remember feeling good. I was almost so tired from the season that I just was like super relaxed about everything.
Great. Yeah.
I didn't feel the nerves I felt at the Olympics. Now I felt like I was a veteran at these big events.
At your first senior Worlds, you're like, I'm totally veteran. Yeah, okay.
Right. I know exactly what I'm doing. And so then in the short, I made a mistake on my combination. I did a double 3, triple lutz, double 3, triple toe. And I know, like, they were just on the fence of, like, what that actually is and qualifies as and whatever. So I think I was in 3rd after the short, which, again, I felt great. I was like, wow, I could maybe get a medal, or, like, improve my...
Incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, I could, like, improve my placement from the Olympics. That's kind of what I was shooting for. That was my big goal.
Did you make the press conference? Because that is when you really made it, is if you in the top 3 press conference. Yes.
I don't know if I was at the press conference. I did the press conference for the qualifying round. Okay. But I don't know if I did it for the short. So maybe I was in 4th then. Maybe I missed it.
Now, did you feel... were you aware? I don't know, because, obviously watching this Worlds on TV, the one thing that was really pervasive is that it almost seemed like the reporters and the TV cameras were annoyed at Sasha Cohen that she didn't win the Olympics and hadn't won. And because if you rewatch the coverage, like she's kind of had it too. So Peter Carruthers went to ask her about her combination, and she was like, "Well, you always focus on the negative, Peter." And but it's interesting because they actually did a fluff piece where the people on ABC were saying that maybe she should quit competitive skating because it's not her thing. Like, Peggy Fleming says it, and but it seemed like they had all turned on her, so I was wondering if you had kind of, could sense that like, focus was on her, at that point.
Oh, I could definitely sense the focus was on her, and I felt like she was frustrated, for sure, and I just got the feeling that it was like she was tired. It was kind of like we were all tired, the Worlds after the Olympics. But yeah, I could tell that the focus was on her and that she was frustrated.
But even like you were saying, you go back to your hometown and people that think they're being supportive and you're like, well, you'll get them next time, Kimmie. You know what I mean? The same thing. Talk to Rosalind Sumners or Nancy Kerrigan about it sometime. I mean, like, it's this whole kind of like everyone is meeting you with like, oh, and you just won the silver medal. Because I even remember who she talks to, who was the little guy at the desk or whatever that talks to all the athletes. Oh, who cares? Matt Lauer or somebody. But like got up there and was like, oh, huge disappointment, silver medalist Sasha Cohen. And she started already then verbalizing like, it's not a disappointment, it's an accomplishment. Yeah. It's a tough thing that's different, I think, than other sports that is in skating.
You could tell she was lying at that point. She looked like she wanted to die during that interview. But anyway.
I would have wanted to, too. Yeah, that's how you lead off your interview. Yeah, and it's just so hard for people outside of skating to understand that. Like, all of us here in the sport, we get how much work goes into it and how much of an accomplishment it is to just stay on your feet, right? At the Olympics and at any big event. So, while you want that person to win and, you have your favorites, this is like my most favorite thing to get on my soapbox about because I see it all.
Have it, Kimmie. This is your moment.
Yeah, take it.
Okay.
Because again, social media was not a thing when I was competing. So now when I go on there, I can see like some mean comments from people outside of skating, just your average fans, right? And they are the heart of skating. They get us through everything. So I love them, but when they post things that are like just so nasty about like specific people, and then they tag them.
To me, because I'll be honest, Kimmie, we get some of that slack, but what I point out is we're just talking about skating and learning about skating and just discussing different approaches and things like that. But to me, there is such a difference between making an observation versus writing something cruel and tagging the person so that person reads it. To me, that is next level. Same way if someone gets a bad review or something like that, it's that person's prerogative whether or not they're reading it. But it's different if the reviewer sends that nasty review directly to the person it's about. I agree.
Yeah, it's so much. I think everyone should have their opinions. You should be able to write about it. But yeah, don't include that person in it because they are a person dealing with all these other things going on. They're trying to keep it together maybe between the short and the long. And I think when you're someone who hasn't experienced what that is, it's maybe hard to even think about what that person's going through. I mean, you have no idea what they're going through because you haven't felt it before. And it drives me bananas.
And they're not always, they may not be forthcoming about a personal thing that is going on. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Especially in skating, there seems to be so much spin that very rarely is the average public given the real picture of what's happening. I think that's got to be tough.
I think it's tough. And, I think social media is great because you do have access to the athletes now and celebrities, and it's awesome to kind of see their personalities through that. So you get a whole nother dimension of them. But at the same time, I just think it should be used for good, not bad.
It's okay. The other day, Kimmie, I got a message. Someone didn't like my judging, and they said that they didn't like the space between my eyes and my brain. So...
What is that? Why do they even tag you in that?
Did you write like, thank you, I'll work on it? Like,
no, I wrote back like, no, I wrote back that I said, well, was there something that I said in my judging that you disagreed with or that they didn't like,
Yeah.
And then they wrote back, don't you get it? I just don't like you. And I was like, okay, that's fine. We're moving on. But
it does seem clear now. Thank you.
It seems clear. We got it.
Yeah.
No, but
so I've been fortunate. No one's ever sent me a directly mean message. I've had them say it to my face.
Maybe this is that chance, Kimmie. Yeah.
Wait, maybe this
Jonathan,
is. No,
you just you said that they sent it to your face.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I have many people who have said things to my face, but like they comment on actually on my face.
Like
Like they'll tell me. Like I had this one guy hand me a book on makeup, and then he told me he was like. He pretty much told me that I needed to fix my eyebrows and start wearing a lot of makeup.
Oh, dear.
And I was like, it's okay.
And you know, he
but
thought he was being helpful. You know, he thought.
Yeah, how easy would it have been to be like, I happen to know a lot about makeup. If you ever want some help, I'd be happy to share it with you. And of course, your answer would be like, no, random person. Right. I think I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's funny, but I feel like it's better, at least when they say it to my face, I'm like, I appreciate you have a direct line to me because you're looking at me. So I kind of appreciate that you're not doing it behind my back. But at the same time, like, how dare you?
Yeah, but at the same time, if you're doing it back there, at least I don't know.
I'm not privy to it.
So, Kimmie, as we get back to, we're at the big moment. Like, this is the world moment of your career, and at the point that, like, you're having this moment, like, you weren't the favorite to go into Worlds, but the way I would kind of describe this is that, like, you seized the opportunity, and that's kind of what you did in your career, and you win this big accomplishment, obviously probably somewhat unexpected. I mean, and your wildest dreams. I mean, like, so walk us through, like, realizing, like, I just, like, first you just skated really well. By the way, I'll just talk about this from my perspective.
Okay.
So,
Dave, how does Kimmie make you feel?
How does Kimmie make you feel? So, I was dating this very nice guy, but he used to like to tease me, and we would kind of rib each other, and he was all into watching basketball, so he thought it was hilarious that I watched skating. So, at this point, he was obviously laughing that I was a fan of Sasha Cohen, who had not done well at the Olympics, and he thought that this was hysterical because the media labeled her as the girl who fell. Well, proof to see is that Kimmie Meissner skates her free skate, and he goes from laughing about me watching skating to he's the one sitting and sobbing, like he's watching Terms of Endearment. And he's like, that he could not, he was so moved and was like bawling. So yes, your program moved him to uncontrolled. He had feelings about skating he didn't even know that he had, Kimmie. Okay.
I love that. That feels so good.
But it's so relatable. There's just that. I mean, I wasn't just blowing smoke when I always found myself rooting for what seemed like a real person. And like after he won, I was like, good.
That's why she's the leader of the cool kids, Jonathan.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. Yes, this is right.
Okay. Well, thank you. It's so nice to hear.
Good. Yeah. How did it feel when you literally finished? Did you think it was possible, or were you merely enjoying the moment?
Yeah, so this was one of those programs that, like, I feel like I usually was very present in my programs. But this was one that I was just, like, very, very aware of, like, smells and, like, weird sounds as I was doing my program. And it was odd because I was like, this is an important moment. Like, why are you focusing on these other things, you know? But it helped me, again, to kind of, like, relax throughout the whole program. So, like, walking out to the ice, I could smell popcorn, and it was like, oh, I'm at a Champions on Ice event. You know, that's what it felt like. And as I was going through each jump, I was trying to just remain as calm as I could and, like, really, you know, just do what I could and, like, check each thing off, move forward kind of deal. So when I landed my second triple lutz, I was feeling really good because I'm like, okay, I'm almost there. I've got triple sow and a double axel combo left and footwork, you know. So then obviously I land the sow, and I'm just pumped going into footwork. I think I was, like, actually really getting into it with my face. I was making, like, some serious performance things going on. And I like felt it there in that moment of footwork. Like, no matter what happens on this last combination, like, this was a huge triumph for me to come out and do this. And, like, I just was so excited already before it even ended. And I mean, the crowd, a Canadian crowd, just, they understand skating, you know, not that the American crowds don't, but skating, Canadian fans they are very smart about every element. They're not just excited to see you do, you know, something small. And I feel bad because now
they're all like Megan Newhamill about the points. We get it,
but,
you know.
Yeah. So they're just so into it and so behind me as I'm doing my footwork and going into this last axel. So when I land that last jump, it was like I just want to, like, throw my hands up and, like, start celebrating. not thinking that I won, but just because I was like, finally, I did this program that I have been training. I've just been skating so solid, and this is what I wanted to do, you know, at the Olympics type of deal, this kind of a program. So it just felt so good, and they were so loud as I was in that last spin, and I had no idea they were on their feet yet, but I could hear them, and the building kind of felt like it was shaking. It was unreal, you know. It just one of those moments that like I still replay and can think of, and you know, I had no expectation of winning it, and I get off and I get my score, and I moved in front of Sasha right away, and I had seen that she had fallen on her last 2 jumps going into it, and you know, I kind of knew she didn't skate her best. So when I saw that I moved in front of her, I was floored. Just because, you know, she's Sasha Cohen, and just can't believe that I'm in front of her. So that was pretty wild, just that. And I was thinking, like, no matter what happens from here, like, I just can't believe I'll be, you know, the top American woman, no matter, like, not even winning, but just like top American woman at this Worlds. And then I stood backstage and just, they had the camera on me, you know, waiting to see my reaction. And I just watched as, I think there were 2 more skaters. So I knew I was getting a medal, you know, after that last skater. And then all of a sudden it was like, I just won the whole thing. So wild.